Hi everybody, Danielle here, and I am live with you for our final episode of Changemakers Show, which is really exciting. So I think we are live on the Changemakers page, and while that pulls up, I just want to make sure I can share it into the lab so that everybody there can see it as well. Now, I feel like this is going to start talking back at me, and let me just find the post. Meanwhile, if you guys are tuning in, hi, let me know if you're here. And hopefully my computer can handle live streaming. It is making some weird noises, but we should be okay. Whoops. Look at that. I messed it up already. This is what happens when I don't have anybody on the other side helping navigate all the tech pieces as we go. I'm not very good at multitasking. I try my best. Usually when I'm recording the show live, this is where I ask the guest to introduce themselves. So it gives me a minute where I don't have to talk and click at the same time. And I let them take the floor. So just 1 second here. Okay. So today we're going to talk all about, so look at that. I tried to multitask again. Uno momento. I want to make sure we get this in the lab. Are you guys ready for the holidays? Because I feel like I'm kind of on holidays already. That's also why I might be worse multitasker right now than usual. Okay, it's posted. We're good. We're in the lab. We're on the page. Let me start over. Welcome to the last episode of Changemakers Show. We are not only wrapping up season 3, but we're also wrapping up all of 2017. So Changemakers Show actually started in January of this year, and we've done 25 episodes throughout the year, which I can't believe. So we kind of split it into 3 seasons. We took a few breaks here and there in the summer for sure, and then we had another break in the the summer, fall, and then earlier in the year we had a break as well. So we've had a lot of amazing guests. I want to kind of review some of the, not only the highlights, because literally every single episode was really fun for me and Solène to interview everybody who was on the show. And I know that without a shadow of a doubt, you could go onto our show episode page on our website and just hit play on any one of them. And I'm sure you would walk away with some really valuable insights and inspiration. So this isn't to say highlights that, you know, some shows were better than others, because it's not that at all. We just wanted to kind of do a wrap up to close out the year, and also to see what kind of themes came up throughout all of these episodes, because there was 25 interviews and we had a variety of different types of people as guests on the show. And so in order to kind of do all those conversations justice, we wanted to take one last look at some of those big themes that came up and share them again with you today. That's the interesting thing, especially this year, but I think it's been like this for a while. There's so much information on the internet, right? There's so many, especially with live streams. I mean, that's what we're doing as well, but there's just live streams everywhere. There's podcasts that are kind of blowing up. There's trainings, there's courses, there's free this, free that. There's so much information. And I think one thing that I'm going to focus on in the new year is kind of taking a bit more time to go deeper into some of that content that is created, and really look at it from different angles and you know, talk about it a little bit more. So we're not just at the surface of everything and bouncing from this interview to that, to that, to that, because it's all good information, but we also need time to absorb it and assimilate it and implement the learnings that we have as well. So that's one thing I'm personally going to be thinking about more in 2018. And for Changemakers Association as well, we're changing a little bit of our model. We'll be sharing more about that in the new year. We have all the same components, but we're really putting more of an emphasis on the action side of things and the implementation side of being an entrepreneur. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, right? We can learn all of these things. Even connecting with other people is so valuable, but we need to use it in some way in our businesses or in our lives, right? So that the act of consuming information and connecting with people is great to a certain point, but then what? So what, right? So we want to spend a little bit more emphasis on the latter end of the side of learning, which is what do you do with it? And how do you make sure that you're taking really strategic and effective action with everything that you're learning and with all the people you're connecting with. So there's a little sneak peek into 2018 for Changemakers Association. But I digress. Let's get back to summarizing some of the highlights from 2017 in the show. So just to give the high level picture, we interviewed 25 guests, and I was going through just before I went live to see kind of where the breakout is on some factors. So in terms of product-based social enterprises and social entrepreneurs, we had 6 companies. So we had Plain Products, we had Green Cup, Mama Hoo Hoo Shoes, The Pluralist Watches, that was our most recent one, Cambio Market, and Companion & Co. So a lot of really cool products, and we learned a little bit about their business models and how their products are making an impact. Everything from the environment and plastic reduction with Plain Products. If you remember, Lindsay McCoy talked about shampoo and conditioner in reusable stainless steel, I think it was stainless steel, but metal containers that work kind of like a subscription service. So you never have to buy more plastic for your bathroom. You can just get it refilled with more shampoo. And yes, we had some shoes. Mama Hoo Hoo Shoes had such a funny name to stick in your head, but once you get it stuck, it's a really fun name, Mama Hoo Hoo. And that was Henrik talking about how they support shoe manufacturers, and not just to purchase from those shoe artisans in order to increase their economic livelihoods, but also to get them set up as manufacturers who can sell to other shoe companies and stores and retailers as well. So that was kind of taking the employment social enterprise model to a whole nother level, which is really neat. The Pluralist, those watches were very cool. So I saw that Muhib hit his crowdfunding goal. So congrats if you're watching on that. I'm sure that was exciting, and we'll have to have you share your update on how kind of the end of your campaign went, because we interviewed you kind of in the middle. And then, yeah, Cambio Market and Companion & Co., both couple-led organizations that are doing really neat product-based, well, Companion & Co. does more co-design and the selling of, I think they had a really neat stool and some different kind of home products. And then Cambio Market with importing or reselling some really great artisan goods. And they actually recently refined their business so that they are supporting Filipino producers exclusively, which is really, really exciting. I've been watching their progression kind of through Instagram and their newsletter. So congrats to you guys if you're watching. So we had a nice mix of different product social enterprises to get inspired from. We also had some more kind of service-based or a little bit more nebulous business models that still had a great impact, but weren't as defined as here's a product like some shoes or shampoo. And so we had Textbooks for Change, we had Goodwill Solutions, Overflow Coffee Shop with Amanda and Brandon Neely, who also do social enterprise coaching. We had Crowd Farm Africa, Grand Trunk Veggies, so a local urban farmer, and Matt Dixon, Eggpreneur in Africa as well, supporting, I'm going to talk more about Eggpreneur because he sent an update as well in his newsletter recently that I wanted to kind of pass on some of that info as well. And then we had a bunch of people who support social entrepreneurs. And we actually had, so we had 6 product social entrepreneurs. We had 6 more service-based or kind of network-based social enterprises. And then we had 13 people who support social enterprises. So I guess we'll try and even that ratio a little bit more next year. But one thing Tony Lloyd talked about, so he's the host of the Social Entrepreneur podcast. And actually, I don't know if he talked about it in our call or in our interview, but I remember reading a blog post of his one time where he talked about the split of all of his guests on his podcast and how he was being more intentional and conscious of, you know, who the diversity that he was representing on the podcast. So thank you, Tony, for planting that seed and letting us kind of learn from you on that and think a little bit about, you know, looking back, who have we brought into the forefront and by inviting or collaborating with on the show, and then who, you know, how can we make that split a little more evenly distributed on a lot of different axes later. So actually, one related to that, I counted how many females and how many males we had in the last year. And even though we had 25 episodes, some of those were couples. We had 3 couples who interviewed together. And so with that, our split of male-female is exactly 50-50, which is a total fluke, but pretty cool to see in the end. We had 14 men on the show and 14 women. So good job, you guys. And yeah, so with our social enterprise supporters, we had people who support social entrepreneurs more generally, more community-based, and also more topic-based. So we had Jessica talking about sales. We had, let's see what else, Louisa talking about project management. We had Christine Rico talking about finances, which is always a big one. So she's a CFO on Speed Dial. We had Anne Miltenberg talking about branding. Kat Luckhawk of Share Impact talking about the communication side of things, and Mike talking about marketing. So we had a lot of people who are in their kind of zone of expertise, but specifically using that to support social entrepreneurs and change makers. So thank you, everybody, for being on the show this year. It was really fun talking with everybody. Yes, we had 3 couples. I'm just looking at my notes. And we had 1 in-person interview. So that's always fun. That was Louisa, who talked about project management, and she's actually based in Calgary with me. So she came to my house and we did it together, which was fun. There was a couple other people from Calgary, but we had those ones on Zoom still, saving the commute. And it's actually a lot easier to talk to somebody through the computer in terms of visual, like keeping eye contact. Then when Louisa was here, I wanted to look at her and talk to her, but then I knew you guys were watching, so that was a bit funny as well. Anyways, there's a behind the scene insight for you. Okay, so I wanted to talk about 3 major themes that came up over and over again, and then hopefully I can get this to work and screen share just a couple snapshots for you guys. The first one that came up a lot, and I'm not really surprised, but looking back at the shows, I realized just how much this topic came up and I guess came to the surface as something really important for any social entrepreneur or people working with them. And that is around storytelling and communication and how those both connect into marketing and sales. So we didn't always talk about that connection, but there was definitely a sense from almost everybody that learning how to share their story in a way that resonated with their audience was something that was really a challenge, both a challenge and also like really important in order to make those connections with the stakeholders, the right people, whether that's partners or most often your customers, right? So I wanted to share a couple of those. Let's make sure I'm in the right spot. Okay, I'm just going to move to screen share. Hopefully this works. Who can share? Okay. Checking my settings. Okay, hopefully you guys can see this. So I'm just showing a snapshot of our episode page. So if you guys haven't been here before, you can go to changemakersassociation.com/show. And this, or if you're on our website, you can go to Get Inspired and Changemakers Show. And here you'll see replays of all of the episodes we've had over the last year. Oh no, I lost my spot because I was showing you the page, but I wanted to show you Christine. I had it all set up. I thought I was being smart. Christine, where are you? She's near the beginning. There we go. Episode 7. So this is, I guess, tangential to storytelling. It's not really fully in the communication side of things, but what I loved that she shared here that we pulled as the highlight is this idea that financials are not about the numbers necessarily. I mean, they are, but it's more important than that, right? So here's what she says. My whole premise is that if you don't have a stable financial base, then you can't be very fair in really delivering the social impacts that you want. So true. This is like a foundational piece that we all need to be aware of, right? The other thread that runs through my work is the thread of storytelling. Everybody now understands the power of story. The stories are often visual and definitely verbal, but if you're running a business, the other part of the story is numbers. If you can't look at the numbers and have them tell you a story, you're missing part of the narrative. So I love this so much because it really points to the idea that just how important financials are, and it also reframes them as kind of a key source of information for your business, and not just on the numbers side, but it helps demonstrate the health of your business on your ability to deliver impact as well. So I really loved that connection she made there. So that's related to storytelling. And then I also want to share a couple other ones. Henrik talked about, so Mama Hoo Hoo, the shoes. As an ethical brand, you have to be willing to talk about what you stand for. It's about doing the right thing. We have the ethos, the guiding line of doing the right thing, and this also applies to how we do our very best to take care of our customers, partners, and people who work with us. When you figure out what it is you really stand for, and you start to tell people about that, they will listen. And so you find your customers. Make sure you can be the best self you can be. So I really love that as well, because this was definitely a theme from people that we heard about, this getting to know yourself as a company and finding your voice and what you stand for. And not only understanding that, but sharing it is such a huge piece of connecting with your customers. Lindsay, Plain Products, also talked about the importance of story. So she says, my first boss told me that if you keep telling the story and tell it well, you will just have to hang in there until people find you. So I think that being able to have the passion about it and communicate that passion, be it through blog posts, social media, podcasts, or, just keep telling that story. And it takes time. That's the hard thing about being an entrepreneur. It's as much patience and perseverance as it is anything else. Again, I love this because she talks about how it does take time, right? So the other thing is the more often you tell your story, the clearer it becomes in your own mind, and the better you're able to communicate it with other people. So I loved that she shared that. And then Anne talked about branding. So she's founder of The Brandling. And this one is more about connecting with people. And that was actually what I wanted to talk about in my third theme. So I'll save that one. Let's see, how do I stop sharing? Yes, that was a community one I wanted to share. Let me just move that around. Okay. I'm back, hopefully. Hopefully that worked. So yeah, this idea of finding your voice and communicating it to your audience, and that it takes practice and it's not going to be overnight. And this comes up a lot with people we work with, inside Changemakers Association, and on our own as well, is that process in the beginning. You're finding, not only working through a business model and an idea that, you know, kind of shifting different pieces of your business to make it line up so that it can really take off and start gaining traction. And a huge piece of that is the communication of what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you do it. So it's practice, it's an evolution, and I dare say it's maybe never done. That was actually another theme that kind of came up along the way, is that nobody came on the show and said, hey, I have it all figured out. I've been doing this for how long, and like I have a formula, I have a system, I just wake up and do the same thing every day. That there was nothing anywhere near that idea shared on by any of our guests, right? It was a lot of people sharing where they're at now and acknowledging, you know, what challenges they've overcome and what challenges they are in the process of overcoming. So that was one thing I really loved about having all of these guests on the show, is that everybody was really willing to share kind of where they're at and what they're working through. And hopefully that gives everybody else watching this reassurance that it's all, like, we don't have to have it all figured out necessarily. With every step, with every new action we take, with every new piece of information we gather, with every new conversation where we're testing our story and seeing what resonates with people and refining that for ourselves and for others, with each of those actions it comes more clear. So that was the second theme that I wanted to touch on and talk about. So let me see if I can pull up. I have a couple examples again from our page. Okay, so this was Sammy, founder of Crowd Farm Africa. And it was kind of neat because I met Sammy in Calgary, and we were doing a little event as part of the volunteer chapter of Plus Acumen. And we brought Sammy to speak in front of a bunch of people and just share kind of what was on his mind in terms of which pieces of his business he was in the process of validating, and how, you know, if people had other ideas that they could share to help him work through that. And then we had him on the show a little while after that, and he had made some changes, but so we talked about that in this episode. And what I like is that he talks about what's constant and then what evolves. So the thing that remains constant is that we're still working in agriculture and we want to transform it. But in terms of the how keeps changing. And as a startup, you have to be open to all of those changing things. You cannot say, this is it. It might take 2 to 3 years before you can say, this is it. The world is changing really fast. If you are static, it may actually work against you. So we're willing to be open to learn, to change, to mutate. So I love how Sammy shared that, because it's so true, right? And especially in those kind of early days. And I think it's going to be like that to some extent all throughout your business, because every business needs to keep not reinventing itself, but refreshing itself, let's say, as the needs of your beneficiaries change, as the needs and ideas of the founders change, as the options in the marketplace change. So I really love how he shared that. And Matt Dixon of Eggpreneur, he also had some really great things to share about this idea of taking action and learning from that and figuring it out as you go. So, and he had such a wonderful validation process. He was very thoughtful in developing and launching his Eggpreneur program. So he says, from the beginning when Eggpreneur came to mind, it took me almost 3 months. First of all, because my background is in medical sciences, pharmacy, and global health, I had to move an egg farm outside the city I had to move to an egg farm to be able to learn the basic skills about poultry farming and how to understand different varieties. So he actually put himself in the shoes of the people he wanted to work with, not only to learn his product inside out, but also to, you know, understand the context within this would be all working within. And then he says, number 2 was to see how I could develop a business model that was going to be sustainable beyond aid and beyond grants. I flew into Kenya and did a feasibility study to give me an idea of where to start in terms of locations. So with every step along the way, whoops, I'll just stop share there. With every step along the way, he was really thoughtful and not just researching kind of in a bubble, but researching through action and gathering insight through action. So I really love that he shared more about his process there. And he sent a update in a newsletter recently, just talking about an example of one of the people he's working with who has been, you know, experienced great things through the Eggpreneur program. So she started with, I'm just going to summarize, and I have it all written down here, but basically she got to the point where she was generating $80 more a month than her previous income of $35 a month, thanks to the eggs that she, the chickens that she started farming for eggs. And then in her second year, she grew from 40 birds to 220. She sells 20 chickens a month, making a profit of $110, so her income keeps going up. And she has more revenue and flexibility with her finances. And she can sell independently near where she lives, or she can sell through the Eggpreneur platform. And Eggpreneur helped get this all set up. So congrats to that. There's a lot of other great success stories there, but that just came in yesterday, so I wanted to share it. And the last kind of theme that I wanted to point out or bring up in this highlights reel of 2017 show episodes is this idea, and again, this one was really prevalent in almost every conversation, was this idea of the importance of community and working with others or relying on the help of others or input of others to work through your entrepreneurial journey and to figure things out along the way and to make it all happen. So I want to share a couple of those. Because, you know, you guys know we love community-based stuff. And so naturally we brought on a few people who are also doing really similar work in terms of creating spaces for changemakers to connect and grow. So Tara talked a lot about, so she's founder of Under 30 Changemakers. And we actually, since this interview, met her in real life in New York City for the Changemakers Summit conference, which we spoke at in September. So that's really exciting. Some neat connections happening there. So she says, you can't steer a parked car. You just have to start and go for it, no matter where you are, no matter with what you have. It's easy to think that you don't have the resources already available to you, but you do. If you're on here, you have the internet. You have an ability to literally reach out to anyone in the world and ask for their help or their support. You have an ability to sell almost anything you can think of. The limitations and why we are personally a mental support group is because it's getting over yourself. We put up so many obstacles that we can and of what we can and cannot do. And it's ultimately just going for it and seeing how it works out. Because no matter what you can dream up, you can achieve. So I really love that Tara shared this, because not only is she talking about reaching out for help, but also, again, this theme of taking action and learning from that. That's, you know, the best way to move forward. We also had Joanne, lead architect of the Plus Acumen community, which was really exciting because Plus Acumen has a huge reach to social entrepreneurs from around the world through their courses, and they also have a fellowship program and a lot of things that support and work around their investments that they make into social enterprises in the developing world. Yeah, so they're growing and serving a lot of entrepreneurs that way. But I love what she said about community. So she said, ordinary people are capable of extraordinary things. When you think about community, what we found the most helpful is to actually set the bar fairly high. If you come into your community and expect more from them, they will give you more and probably surprise you in return. It's something we've constantly seen with both of our volunteer chapters, online community, and our online course community. If you expect more, you can accomplish more together. Don't lower the bar for your community. Be clear about what it is you have set out to achieve, and then challenge each other in constructive ways, of course. So yeah, this idea of working together and figuring it out together is just, you know, something that comes up over and over again for our change makers. And then Anne, of course, for the branding, she talked about working together and how we can help share new perspectives for each other. So she said, when you feel like you're really making a difference for someone, that's a magical moment. When we're doing these sessions, sometimes we'll uncover entirely new revenue streams. Sometimes we'll discover a great way to help them cut costs. Sometimes we find amazing ways to develop events to get publicity. When you're developing something for yourself, it's really hard often to see your strengths. When someone else can come in and say, hey, let's go into the mine together, find the gold and dust it off and bring it back up and put it in the spotlight. That's a great way of working together. So I love that, and thanks for sharing that. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share just in terms of a quick kind of recap of some of the highlights that came out of the show. Of course, like I said at the beginning, every episode has a bunch of gems in it, and I can't repeat all 25 episodes here. You guys will not watch. You won't watch. So hopefully that was a nice kind of wrap up. So just to summarize again, these three themes that came up a lot over the year was around the importance of storytelling and communicating your message and how that can support your marketing and sales. And also that it's a process and it takes practice. This idea of learning through action and figuring it out as you go, and you never quite have it all figured out, but as long as you can keep moving forward and take the next step, then you can keep gaining momentum and growing. And then the final thing is that idea of community and reaching out to get the support from each other in order to really, I mean, on all the levels, right? It's not just kind of the emotional and mental support that being connected with our peers helps us with, but also just having an outside brain who's not as close to the project who can say, oh, okay, I hear you on this. This is where you're at. Have you thought of XYZ? That could be a place to look that maybe you haven't thought of. And then that's where all the light bulb moments can happen, when somebody else is kind of sharing with you. And also back to communication, if you're explaining a challenge that you're working on, and just the act of sharing it to someone can help you figure it out as well. So even if they don't have ideas for you, the fact that they listened and you shared can often move you forward into the next step, and that next step becomes clearer. So all awesome themes, awesome highlights from 2017. And I just want to do a shout out again to thank everybody who was a guest on the show. We really enjoyed having you and enjoyed you taking the time to share your thoughts and ideas with ourselves and the whole community here in the Changemakers sphere of the world, or slice of the world. So that's it for the highlights. I just want to share one last thing before I sign off, and that is that we have a few more days left for the giveaway. So if you haven't heard, oh, I should check and see if there's comments. I see some notifications. Oh, just hearts. Thanks, you guys. Just a few hearts came in. But yeah, so on December 25th, that's the last day to enter our Impact Entrepreneurs 2018 Survival Kit giveaway. So we're giving away a bunch of awesome prizes, which I have a pile of them here that I can show off. And I'll put the link below this video. You can enter just with your name and email, and you can get extra points or entries, chances to win by sharing the giveaway with your friends. You can email it or share on social media, or you can even just, there's a few tasks. You can head to different parts of our website and social media profiles to get more entries as well. So we have a couple great books. This one's from Seth Godin. We have two from him because that's how awesome he is. These are all in the giveaway. I've read both of these. This one's really fun. It's like a full magazine style. So Seth knows how to innovate. He knows people's attention spans are dropping quickly. And so this was his, I think it was his latest publication, and it's really, really great. And of course, Tribes, which I think is a bit older, but a nice quick read. When was it published? I don't see it right away. Anyways, his stuff is always really interesting and insightful for social entrepreneurs. We have, this is more of like a case study, inner city renovation, Marty Donkenvoort. And this is about a construction social enterprise in Winnipeg in Canada. So that's kind of a nice case study type read. We have The Power of Unreasonable People, John Elkington, Pamela Hartigan. This is maybe one of the first, not the first, but it's definitely been around for long enough to be, one of the key books that people who are interested in social entrepreneurship and social innovation should read. They've written another one since then, Beyond something, Getting Beyond, I forget. I can put the link in, but this is the first one they wrote together. How Social Entrepreneurs Create Markets That Change the World. And this was actually one of my readings for when I studied social entrepreneurship in a course or in a program. So it's professor approved required reading for social entrepreneurs. Then we have Start Something That Matters by founder of Tom's, another kind of easy read. He shares about his story and gives his tips for how to create a social enterprise. Fun little picture of people getting married in Tom's shoes. We have High Performance Habits. This is a brand new book from Brendon Burchard, and another really great read. I actually haven't read the whole thing, but I have a copy as well that I'm about halfway through. And so it's not based on social entrepreneurship specifically, but Brendan's really big on purpose-driven, kind of heart-centered, not only entrepreneurship, but just life in general. And he has a lot of great tips about being a high performer and how you can create habits in your life to be amazing at these things and have great success in your careers. Clarity, energy, necessity, productivity, influence, and courage. That's a hint. Those are the 6 habits that he talks about creating stronger in your life. So, and I can't forget our book. You get a copy of that, of course. Social Entrepreneurs Roadmap for Collaborations at Work. And we have some awesome postcards to share with you guys. We had these printed for the Changemakers Summit, and we had some extras left over, and they're really beautiful. Selene created these with our amazing quotes. Success doesn't happen in isolation. Let's make it happen together. It always seems impossible until it's done. Let's do it together. And you are the 5 people you spend the most time with. Surround yourself with resourceful, authentic, and positive entrepreneurs. And they are postcards, so you can send them with little love notes and collaboration requests and ideas to some of your favorite colleagues. And last but not least, and actually not last, is a copy of the Changemakers GPS. So this is our planner that we've shared previously only with our members, but it was such a hit that we kind of broke it out to make it available for anybody. So not just people inside the membership, so that you can plan a really amazing quarter and year and make your dream impact inevitable through the planning process. And so it goes through weekly, well, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily goal setting and planning and tracking. So it's really great. And then we have some goodies like coffee. Good Trade Coffee is a company, actually they're a nonprofit. They're registered as a nonprofit in Calgary. And they have this really delicious coffee from Colombia, and a bunch of, well, their main mission is to not only, I guess, increase access for farmers producing this coffee, but also to help them create better and more efficient and more sustainable farming practices in Colombia as well. And then also help the communities through education and youth programs. So a really neat coffee company there. And also you get some chocolate and some roll-on scent essential oils from BAM Essentials, which is Beth Palm's social enterprise. She was guest #1 on the show almost a year ago exactly. So you'll get all of these goodies packaged up in a box and sent to you just in time for the new year. And so I'll share the link below, but that is the giveaway. And I probably didn't need to explain all the books that much, but you know what? I really love all these books. And so I'm excited to give them to a lucky winner. We have a bunch of people entered already, but of course there's still time, and you never know. You can gain more entries and increase your chances to win. And it'll be really fun. Plus you get real books, you know, not just ebooks, which is going to be a little more expensive for us to mail them. Hopefully the winner, you know, doesn't live in New Zealand, which is the furthest possible spot from Calgary, Alberta. But if you do, Scott, if you're watching, if you win, we will mail all of these books to you in New Zealand. So whatever the cost, they'll make their way across the ocean to you. So yeah, I think that's it for now. If you guys have any questions or ideas or thoughts about all of the, you know, amazing entrepreneurs we had on the show, or if you have ideas of who you would love to see us interview in 2018, please let us know, and we will get that all sorted in the new year. One last thing is we have a really exciting January planned for you guys. So I can't share too much yet, but just keep an eye out. We won't start the show up again probably till mid-February because we have a lot of cool things happening in January already for you guys. So stay tuned for that. And meanwhile, have a wonderful holiday if you're taking some time off, enjoying some time with family, or we have a few people enjoying the holidays at the beach. It happens to be very snowy where I am. Let's see if I can show you. That's the snow in Alberta right now. So all you beach goers, enjoy. And we will talk to you guys we'll talk to you in the new year. Okay? Take care, everybody. Happy holidays.